Uh, I wanted to come on today to talk a little bit about grief and regret, um, and shame and all of the fun things that go along with it. Fun. Um, excuse me. So 8 years ago today, I sent the young man that I considered my son a Facebook message that said, "I'm not coming to California in March. And I hope you'll come see me. I'll pay for a ticket for you to come see me, but plans have changed." And the plans that changed was that my husband and I decided we wanted to go to Mexico. And so my budget that was to go see my son got reallocated. And I still felt like I had the budget to fly him here, but I just made a little shift. And the next day he took his own life. And I don't believe that me canceling my trip was the reason. But I believe it probably played into it. And I often think if I would have gone, what would have happened? Right? If I wouldn't have canceled my plans, if I would have, and who knows, right? Like that's the crazy thing about death is I have no idea. I have no idea if he was holding on because I was coming to see him. I have no idea. I have no idea. But every year around this time, I'm anxious to plan a trip. I need to get out. I want to go. And I don't know, maybe it's the cold weather. Maybe I don't know what it is. And yesterday I was thinking about it and I was like, maybe it's me trying to get away from my grief. And then I remembered that I planned this trip. It's the last thing I communicated with him about. And it's interesting because when you lose someone close to you to suicide, at least in my experience, so many people want to make sure you understand how it's not your fault. And I don't believe it's my fault. Eddie had so many, I call them demons, right? So many things that had happened in his life and that he carried with him in his tender little heart that I truly believe there were times that I helped. And I know that there are times that I hurt and that I didn't say the right thing or do the right thing. And it is so easy to sit in the regret of that. It is so easy to sit and think, if I only would have, and what if I would have noticed that we didn't talk on the phone for like 6 months before that day? I didn't notice it. I would call him, he wouldn't answer, and he'd start texting me, and that's how we'd carry on our conversation. And I truly believe in my full soul that that was because he knew if I talked to him, I'd know. I'd know he wasn't okay. And that choice had nothing to do with me. That choice had everything to do with his own things. But even as I say that, I know that's not completely true. I know, I know I was a part of all of that. And the only reason I want to say it out loud is because there's a lot of people out there who have lost or will lose people they love so much to their mental health challenges. And as much as it's so sweet that everyone says it's not your fault, you can't take responsibility, you couldn't have done anything. It's just kind of bullshit, right? It's not my fault. And maybe I couldn't have done anything, but maybe I could have. Maybe if I wouldn't have changed that trip, I would have gone there and I would have known what was going on and I could have gotten him the help. Maybe, maybe if I wasn't so caught up in my own stuff, I would have realized what was going on with him. I would have asked more questions. I would have, but I didn't. And the what ifs are futile, right? Doesn't matter. And I do believe that it happened in the way it was supposed to. And I do believe he's so much happier where he is. And I know he's with me and with his sister and her babies, her beautiful babies, and with my kids. And I would say probably 98% of the time that's enough right now because it's been 8 years and there was healing and but in that 2%, in that 2% when you miss someone you love, in that 2% of time that you think about the what ifs and you think about all the things that they've missed out on. It's hard, you know? And people can say everything happens for a reason, and people can say it was his choice when he came here, and there's all of that, and some of that I even actually believe. But it doesn't take away the pain, and I don't want to discount my pain, right? I don't want to discount my pain, and I don't want any of you to discount your pain or your what ifs or where your brain goes and the shame and the because we do that all the time in this world, right? Like, we don't tell people we're upset. We don't tell people what's going on with us. We don't talk about our emotions because God forbid you all don't look at me and see me as shiny, happy, airy. But sometimes I'm not shiny, happy, airy. And for whatever reason, I'm getting called time and time again to tell my story, to speak my truth, to share authentically and vulnerably. And I just want you to know that you're not alone in your shame and in your grief and if your what ifs and in your sadness and in your moments of not good enough. Like, you're not alone. And Eddie wasn't alone. There were so many people who loved him and who would have given their lives for him. But I don't think he understood that. And he saw it as some burden, that he was a burden to us and not the light that he actually was. And so while I believe that Eddie is on the other side and he is thriving, he's happy, it does not change. It does not change the pain that he left behind and the amount of people who in the next couple of days are gonna cry real tears. not gonna change the babies who've been born, who he's not gonna meet, the wedding, the sister that he didn't get to go to, watching me fall headfirst into his world, his metaphysical, crazy world. And I know he sees all that. I know he's here with us, but he's not. So maybe I'm just supposed to thank you all for holding space for me. And I want you to know that I hold space for you as well. To actually be in the emotion and in the grief and in the sadness and in the shame and in the what ifs. Because there can be healing in that, right? There can be healing to accept the emotions for what they are and to be okay with feeling. And Eddie spent a lot of his life trying really hard not to feel. So when he finally did, it was a lot. So be safe with it. Therapy. Woo, I'm all about therapy. Find your people. We're all going to be okay, one way or another. Maybe do something nice for Eddie. Go be kind to a stranger or someone you love. Just channel a little bit of the light that Eddie was and that he still is.